A company called X-DIGI has sent me one of these battery packs to do a review for them. It's the X-DIGI PB2100. Now, it's basically a power delivery or PD battery pack. And what PD basically provides is when you connect your external devices into one of these ports, it can negotiate various power options. So you can see over here, USB-C1, which is this port here, it can support 5 volts at 3 amps, 9 volts at 3 amps, 12 volts at 3 amps, or 20 volts at 5 amps. That's 100 watts of power, incredible. And USB-C2, that can support 5 volts, 3 amps, 9 volts, 3 amps, 12 volts at 2.5 amps, and PPS at 3.3 to 11 volts. PPS is programmable power supply. So that's got a maximum output rating of 30 watts on that port. And USB-A, the port here, that can support 5 volts, 9 volts at 3 amps, and 12 volts at 2.5 amps, a maximum of 30 watts. And then the unit as a whole, well, it can drive up to 130 watts, whether you're using 2 ports or 3 ports. And just to note, USB-C1, this one over here, that's also the port that you use to charge. So it's a bi-directional port. When you connect in a supply device, it detects that and it then turns to an input and you charge through that port. And you can charge at a power rating of up to 65 watts. It's also claimed to be Airline Safe. So yeah, I'll come on to that later. And then just have a look at a few of the photos that are given on their website. So yes, it's up to 130 watts power delivery. You've got the 3 ports, as I've said, and you can charge various types of USB devices. I really like this smart digital display. It's very handy. My old battery pack doesn't have that, and it would have always been nice to know how much percentage charge I've got left in the battery, how much power is being drawn by each device I've plugged in, because quite often you don't really know. Yeah, it's great. A little bit small when you view the screen, but it's really good. And yes, you can deliver up to 100 watts from this C1 port, and you can charge at a power rating of up to 65 watts. All right, so let's have a look at the device then. So there you go, that's the packaging. Then you got the specifications down here. There's certifications and other stuff there. Yeah, laptop, cell phone, tablet, but you can use it on anything, of course, that supports USB charging. Picture of it and some other icons there. And it's the PB2100 power bank. So let's open it up. Oh, by the way, it's a lot smaller than I thought. I was expecting something much bigger, but in some ways that's quite good. It's more compact. I mean, this is my hand and I've got quite small hands actually. So anyway, let's open it up. So inside, it's the first time I've opened it, by the way. I haven't had a look yet. It's literally just arrived. So internal box here. How does this open? So flat there, okay. I think it goes this way. Yeah. And that's obviously the battery unit there. Okay, feels very nice. It's not that horrible cheap plastic, first impressions. It's difficult to read there because it's kind of grey on light grey on dark grey. But yeah, you'd have trouble seeing that, I would anyway. And it seems to have a rubber base there, which is good. Anyway, so that's the battery. We're going to look at that obviously in more detail. What else have we got here? USB-C to USB-C. Doesn't look to be that long. Have a look. Long enough for my desk anyway. So, yep, it's come with the kit, so all good. And a little booklet, which is probably going to be difficult to read again. Yeah, all the tiny print in lots of languages. Actually, it's not too bad. I think with my other glasses, I probably can read that, but it is all in different languages. It's not loads and loads of stuff to read, so I will have a look at that. Anyway, so that's the unboxing done. I won't go into, as most people do, spend ages and ages on the unboxing. Let's get on with testing it out. Right, I've been playing around with this for a few days now. I'm recording this over several days. Actually, when I first turned this on, or tried to turn it on, I found it was completely dead, which I thought was unusual. And by the way, I'm not getting paid a single penny for this video, so everything is unbiased. They did send me this free of charge, but other than that, there's no sponsorship or anything. So what you'll hear from me is the truth. But yeah, it took ages to charge up to 100%. So if I turn it on now, and there you go, it's just booting up. It is 100% now, but it took about, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours to get to that. It must have been completely dead when it arrived with me, and that's unusual. And that's probably because I've only had cheap, you know, the old-fashioned chargers that only sort of support 5 volt and fairly low wattage. And well, I then went out and bought myself, you know, a much higher powered charger, and we'll give this a go, because we're gonna discharge this thing. So I want to see how long it actually provides power for. Does it meet the milliamp hour rating that it states? And then we can find out then how long it takes to charge with a 100-watt charger. Anyhow, let's get the camera a bit zoomed in so we can have a look at the display and the menu sort of navigation. Right, there you go. I've actually positioned this horizontally on its own box because I was getting too many reflections with this sort of shiny plastic lens. It's not bad when you're looking at it with your own eyes, but on the camera it just seems to be worse. Anyway, so let's power it on. Just press that once, and then you get the X-DIGI logo come up. Let's come to that display with my 100% charge status and the logo there. Press again. This is how you cycle through the options. So these are your ports C1, C2 and A, and currently we're delivering no power to any of them, so I've got nothing plugged in them. And you've still got the battery charge there. Okay, press again, and you've now got some more information. So you've got temperature. I'm guessing that's the internal temperature of the device, because it's certainly not 23 degrees here in my office sort of lab environment. In the UK at the moment it's pretty cold, so yeah, we're not at 23 degrees C. Battery cycle, I will check this later when I completely discharge and recharge, but that's saying 0. So I think that's probably the number of times it's been recharged. I don't know, we'll find out. And then battery health, 100%. I'd imagine that's the internal impedance of the battery cells that it's checking. And this time, at first I thought that was discharge time, but actually it's display time. So I've not had it on for a minute yet, so that should increase when we leave the display on for a bit longer. Then press again, and you get into this screen rotation. So at the moment it's in the up orientation, they call it, and the way I think of it is that it's in line with the logo on the unit when it's in the up orientation. Let's just reposition that. Okay, and then if you hold this for 2 seconds, so 1, 2, and then let go, there you go, it's flipped vertically, and then do it again, 1, 2, and it's flipped back. Press again, and you're back to where you started. Okay, now one thing on this here, the manual tells you that if you hold this button for 2 seconds, it will enter trickle charge mode. Well, actually, I had to play around with that, and it's not hold it for 2 seconds, it's actually press it twice. So I've let the manufacturer know, and they're going to correct it in the user guide. But if you press this twice, as I've just done, then you see this little lightning bolt symbol come up, and it's pulsating. That means it's in trickle charge mode, and that will power low power devices with a very small amount of current, and it will not turn off for a couple of hours, it says. And so not tried that, but yeah, maybe a useful feature if you need it. So let's just turn that off. So press that twice again. There we go, and it's gone off. Right, so let's get some devices plugged into it then and see what happens with these readouts. Just before we go plugging in several devices, I thought I'd double check this DIS time down here, because on their website it does actually say screen uses on one of their images, but I just tested it. In fact, this display times out after about 2 minutes, it goes off, and this didn't count up. But I've had now my keyboard, rechargeable keyboard plugged in, and you can see that the time is now clicking away. So it's at 18 minutes it's been plugged in. So this is discharge time. And if I disconnect this now, I believe it'll go back to 0. Yeah, there you go. It'll then start again as soon as you plug something else in. So I plug it back in, and now that'll be counting away again. Obviously it's gone back to 0, it'll take another minute. But anyway, so that's quite confusing because this says one thing and the website says another. Anyway, you learn those things. So I've got my mobile phone here. It's a Samsung S22 Ultra. Now this has never had a fast charger plugged into it in its life, because I've only ever had the standard Samsung sort of brick chargers like that, or my old-fashioned battery bank unit, which I got from Hong Kong, one of my Hong Kong visits many years ago. So yeah, that doesn't support power delivery either. So first of all, I have to go into my settings and go to battery, and then go to charging settings, and I enabled all of these: fast charging, super fast charging, and fast wireless charging, even though we're not doing wireless. Okay, so I'm going to use the lead that came with the charger, with this battery pack, and I'm going to plug it into, let's plug it into port C1. That's the highest rated output. Plug that in and see what it says. So it's automatically booting up. Right, there you go. It says it's charging at 22.3 watts. My charge is just gone up, actually. I was at 64% when I first plugged in, and we're now at 66 already. Brilliant. And just as a crude verification, this is still saying, what is it, 20.2 watts. And I've got one of these snazzy USB charge cables with a little readout of the wattage as well. So it's telling me it's 21 watts. So it's close enough to that. It says PD and it's 21 watts, yeah, which this just gone to 22. So that's close enough. And just out of interest, I thought I'd check how that compares with my old-fashioned battery bank. How many watts was this charging my phone at? Because I never actually measured that before. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't have any kind of smart display. My new fancy one does. But fortunately, I've got one of these little USB monitoring devices. So let's connect him in there and see what it tells us. There we go, started charging. And we're at 5 volts, 1.4 amps, and this is telling me down here it's charging at 7 watts. So compared to 22 watts of power transfer, that pack is going to make a significant difference in charging this device. So there you go. I've got 3 devices now concurrently charging. I've got my Samsung S22 Ultra, my wife's S22 Ultra as well, and I've got my Logitech wireless keyboard. And you can just about see there, my phone, which is plugged into C1, is charging at, what's that, 16.6 watts. My wife's phone, which is in C2, is at 11.8 watts, and the keyboard is just under 1 watt. I'm not going to get anywhere close to the 130 watts that this thing can deliver. I just don't have the equipment that demands that much power, which in some ways for me is a good thing. This is well overrated for what I need. Now, a quick look at this user manual, because I want to look at these power specifications. If you remember, I said this was a little bit confusing. So what you've got here is there's 4 cells inside 4 battery cells inside the unit, and they're each rated at 5,000 milliamp hours, giving you a total capacity of 20,000 milliamp hours. But you don't get that out of the device because there's an electrical overhead. The circuitry inside it and the voltage regulation and stepping the voltage up or down all as a overhead. So they've rated the device here as 12,000 milliamp hours. So 12,000 milliamp hours at 5 volts, that's 60 watt hours. So I want to put that to the test. So let's get it rigged up on the bench and take a look. So there we go, we've got the battery there, of course, got the supplied USB cable, and that's going into a little breakout adapter into my constant current load, and I've got that set to 3 amps. And what we'll do, we'll set the stopwatch going, leave it running until this drains down. So when I click start here, we'll have a little 3-second countdown, and then I'll start on this. Okay, so here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Right, so that's cycling through. It's going to be counting up the milliamp hours, the watt hours there, and this is telling me that it's driving power of 15 watts. So that's bang on, the 3 amps at 5 volts. And the stopwatch, that'll be left recording. So let's leave that running and see what happens. Right, there we go. The battery is now completely died. It's turned off, can't power it up. Okay, so it's now drained. And we got to 4 hours, 13 minutes and something or other. I didn't stop it bang on, so it's a bit less than 52 seconds. So let's have a look here. What have we got? We've got 12.67 amp hours. So that's exceeded the milliamp hours. So that's 12,670 milliamp hours, and the specification was 12,000 milliamp hours. Brilliant. So that one's passed. But the watt hours I've noticed is a bit lower, because I calculated that should be 60 watt hours. Now the reason for that, I presume, is we've got volt loss on this cable, and particularly this little breakout adapter here. All of this is adding resistance, and this cable, and there'll be resistance in here, this shunt resistor on there. So the voltage wasn't bang on 5 volts, so that's why the watt hours is probably a bit lower than it should have been. But the milliamp hours, great, it's exceeded what it's specified at. Brilliant. Okay, next thing to do then is to fully recharge this now that it's completely dead. So last time I charged it, as I said, I used an old-fashioned 5-volt charger that couldn't deliver much current. So I did go out and buy one of these. It's up to 100 watts. Now this one doesn't support 100 watt charging, but it does support 65 watt charging. So let's get it plugged in and we'll set that on a timer. Now unfortunately the supplied cable doesn't reach my wall socket over there, so I'm going to use one of my fancy magnetic cables. I've done a video on these before, so I'll leave a link in the description. Anyway, let's plug this in. Right, there you go, it's all plugged in. I will start this stopwatch. Once the countdown's finished, I will click the main switch. Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
And we're turned on. There we go, and the device has now decided to boot up. Let's see what it's charging at. 43 watts. Okay, 42.9 watts, something like that. See that on there? Yeah, I don't know why that's not charging at 65 watts. 1, 2, 1, 2. Right, did a quick check at 39 minutes and 24 seconds, and we're at 52% charge now. And actually the charge rate has gone up to 57.3, yeah, 57.3 watts. So it's obviously adjusting as it goes dynamically. All right, let's carry on going. Right, there you go. I've been watching this thing closely and it's reached the 100%, and it took 1 hour, 38 minutes. Now, the last 1% seemed to take forever. I think it was probably at least half an hour. Maybe it's just because I was watching it too close and it seemed like forever. The change in the wattage coming from my power supply, that's probably to do with the BMS, the battery management system in here. It's got to fluctuate between constant current and constant voltage to keep this thing safe and the condition of the battery is good. So there you go. That's how long it took, and much quicker than using my old-fashioned charger. Brilliant. And just to confirm, there you go, the battery cycle now has incremented by 1 because it's fully discharged and recharged. And look at the temperature now, it's increased, so 31 degrees C. So that's where we've been charging for an hour and a half, and it does feel a little bit warm, not only just a bit warmer than my body temperature. And it's cooling down actually, but yeah, so that's the internal temperature. Okay. Now, one of the reasons I was keen to get a power delivery battery pack PD device rather than the old-fashioned USB-A 5-volt only type thing was because some time ago I bought one of these. It's a PD activator, and I thought this would be quite handy to power a lot of my projects, a nice convenient way to power your projects. And what it does is it takes your supply here, which could be your battery pack or a charger unit, and then by pressing this button here you can cycle through the 5-volt mode, 9-volt, 12-volt, 15 or 20-volt mode if your supply supports those modes. So let's give this a try, but before I'm going to do that, I don't really want to be soldering each time onto these pads anything kind of permanent, so I'm going to put little screw terminals on there first. So let's get that done. Right, there you go. So I've got the screw terminals now mounted onto the board, and I've just made up a little lead with some crocodile clips plugged into my multimeter. So now if I plug this into here, we should see if this is able to deliver all those voltages or not. So let's plug into the C1 port. There we go there. And let's put this onto volts. It's gone to the red LED here at the moment, and I'm getting 5 volts. Press the button. Gone to sort of a yellow colour, and I've got 9 volts. Brilliant. 12 volts. Bang on. 15 volts. And 20 volts. Brilliant. So this, in conjunction with this little power delivery selector sort of board, is going to be great for little projects where you just need to have some convenient power source. It's gone off because there's no load on here, so don't worry about that. But brilliant, I like that. And again, just out of interest, let's see if we can use this as a data cable to transfer data from your mobile device to your PC or whatever. There's a lot of cables you get with charging devices are for charging only, but because this has got to negotiate with your power delivery, surely it's got to have data as well. But let's just double check that. So here's my trusty USB cable tester. We plug that in one side there and that in the other side there, and let's see what we've got. Yeah, and there you go. I can see all the grounds are connected, obviously. The V buses are connected because that's how it supplies power for charging. But I can see there D- and D+ for data transfer. So you can use this for transferring data. So just coming back to this Airline Safe thing then, it doesn't mean you can put this thing into your suitcase and put it into the hold. I don't know any airline that allows you to put batteries like this these days into your suitcase. So what it actually refers to is this. This is the TSA website, and it does specify that lithium batteries with 100 watt hours or less can be taken on as hand luggage. It says here, lithium-ion rechargeable batteries are limited to a rating of 100 watt hours per battery, and this battery is just under that threshold, so they've got it set just about right. Okay, that's what it is. Now there is a good reason why I put this King Kong logo on my thumbnail, and that is because I asked the manufacturer for copies of their certificates of conformity. This is their CE certificate of conformity, and when I look down, yeah, it's certified by King Kong Jim. Brilliant. And if you're interested in buying one of these, then you can get it on Amazon. In the UK here it's $89.99. I will leave a link in the description below. Or you can buy it direct from X-DIGI. Here they're showing it in dollars. I guess that's US dollars. And it's $99.99. And it looks like here you get another $10 off if you key in this welcome 10 code. Okay, I'll leave a link to this one also in the description below. So there you go, that's the X-DIGI PB2100 power delivery charger. I found it very nice to use, it feels very nice, it fits in your bag easily, and it's got loads of power to charge your devices. You can charge 3 devices concurrently. So yeah, I do recommend that, and I've got links in the description below. So if you found this video useful, then please click the like button, and if you haven't done so already, then please click subscribe too. All right, catch you later.